Hare Krishna. I'd like to welcome everyone for this discussion on this topic about examinations within ISKCON. I was asked by a few educators and some leaders to clarify some frequently asked questions and what I would call as the myths around the ISKCON examination system. So on behalf of the Ministry of Education, I would like to share with you some answers, some facts, which I hope will encourage everyone to engage more and more in reading Prabhupada's books and then becoming Bhakti-shastris, Bhakti-vaibhavas, Bhakti-vedantas, and Bhakti-sarvabhaumas for the service or pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. I think to begin with, it's very important for us to understand some history about the examination. In a paper that we will be circulating shortly for the devotees, you'll find it very interesting to note that this examination system was contemplated by Srila Prabhupada many, many years ago. In fact, even before ISKCON was formally incorporated in the United States. In 1955 itself, in the 50s, while Srila Prabhupada was running a league of devotees, he mentioned something in this regard. Quote, if you become preacher member, in that case, you will have to pay once ₹10 only for the degree of Bhakti-shastri, which will be awarded to you by registered certificate of degree for your becoming preaching member of the league and doing the necessary preaching work on behalf of the league. The preaching work is conducted as follows. 1. As soon as you get the certificate of degree of Bhakti-shastri, at once you become a bona fide preacher of this institution. And for this, you will have to read Bhagavad Gita regularly. Quotes close. Then comes 1968, 12th January. In what I've researched as the first instance, and there could be more, but the one that I could find. Quote, regarding the examination, you are already a past student, so don't be afraid of it. When the examination will be held, you will find the questions so easy that within a few minutes, you shall be able to answer them all. I wish to introduce this examination system so that in the future, our students may not remain unconcerned with these books we are publishing. These books are not material knowledge. To a sincere student, all of the contents of these books become revealed from within, and even if he has not thoroughly studied them all. This was a letter to Hamsaduta Prabhu, Los Angeles, 12th January 1968, very earlier on. And we can note from this letter the very encouraging mood that His Divine Grace had towards these examinations. And at the ministry, we like to maintain that mood. And in that spirit, we're setting out to clarify some facts and doubts that arise with respect to this examination system in an encouraging mood. I'd like to read one more quote. Quote opens. This is November 24, 1968. And this is important because this went as a memo to all the temples within ISKCON. Quote open. In addition to our chanting our 16 rounds daily, we must all read at least one chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Read one chapter one day, then go on to the next chapter the next day. And in this way, after 18 days, we will have completed one reading. After 4 or 5 such complete reading, we will know Bhagavad Gita as it is. And our questions and doubts will be answered. We are printing these books not for money, but so that all devotees will read and understand. On Janmashtami Day, next September, which means September of 1969, those students who wish may take an examination on Bhagavad Gita. Those passing will receive a certificate and title of Bhakti-shastri, an official ministerial status. Guests may also take this exam for a fee of $10. This is the memo to all temples issued from New York, November 24, 1968. There are several questions that devotees continue to raise, sometimes also concerns, perceptions around the ISKCON examination system, which is undertaken under the Ministry of Education and the Board of Examiners. First, a lot of devotees feel that it is a very exclusive and elitist program. I repeat, many devotees feel that it is a very elitist and exclusive program, only meant for some, and the far and few between, who are very, very elevated. There are notions like this which are put forward. Our response from studying Srila Prabhupada's letters, Srila Prabhupada's instructions on this matter is the following. First, we want everyone to read Srila Prabhupada's books regularly, every day. A natural process of reading these books, as Srila Prabhupada described in his letter, is that one will get familiar with the subject matter. And then the next step is that anyone who's familiar with the subject matter can have the opportunity to test their understanding through a simple system of examination. And if you clear the examination, then certified devotees can have the status or title of Bhakti-shastri. So it's as simple as that. It's not elitist. It is not meant for only few. It is meant for anyone and everyone who wants to read and test their knowledge of Srila Prabhupada's books. Is it an absolute must for everyone? No. Is it preferred that more and more devotees become Bhakti-shastris? Yes. Yes, because Srila Prabhupada wanted. He wanted that we should have devotees who are qualified preachers, who understand the subject matter, and take these titles, first Bhakti-shastri, then Bhakti-vaibhav, and so on. It need not be an artificial effort. It need not be a forced effort. But for those who are reading Srila Prabhupada's books every day, this will be a natural outcome. And that's what I will request as my first message. It is not elitist. It is not an exclusive program. Please read every day and naturally then feel inspired after understanding properly Srila Prabhupada's books to attempt these examinations and become Bhakti-shastris. Everyone is welcome. And there is no restriction in this regard. As I read from Srila Prabhupada's memo, even guests can take it. That's how easy it can be. If one is reading it in terms of the system, it's an open system. Next, concern number 2. It is available at very few locations. And a lot of devotees think that one must travel to another country, to a place, to be able to study and take these examinations. And often we hear that there are only, you can count them like this, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, first few facts. In terms of the information that we have from the Board of Examinations, we actually have almost already 64 plus examination centers around the world. And they are in different locations: Bergamo, Budapest, Coimbatore, Durban, Houston, Kolkata, Leicester, Melbourne, Moscow, North Carolina, and like that. So the facility to write these examinations is available in not just countable few, but at least 64 examination centers around the world. We will soon make the list available to you so that wherever you are, you can contact your nearest examination center and attempt your examination or study as well. It's very important for me to mention also the third point that often comes up. A lot of times devotees feel that unless they have access to a particular institute or another institute, they cannot study Bhakti-shastri. Well, that's incorrect. I refer back to my first principle. The first principle is, please read every day, absorb a proper understanding in the Sangha of nice devotees, in the association of the devotees who read. Once you develop your understanding, you can attempt these examinations at various examination centers. We should distinguish the study from examination. One would first study and then write an examination, but because you may not have an examination center readily available, please do not stop your study and reading of Prabhupada's books, because that's the primary principle. So far, the 3 points that I covered are in the context of that this is not an exclusive program. This is meant to be an encouragement to devotees to read and then appear in examination. The next topic, broad topic that I like to take up, that is presented as a concern, is the fees. Some devotees and educators say the fees is very high. Some facts again. The first fact with respect to the fees. The Ministry of Education and the team of Board of Examiners who are responsible for awarding this certificate. The Board of Examination and the Ministry only charges $1, which now in different currencies, rubles 80, Indian rupees 75 rupees, but just $1 is the fees that we charge to award this certificate. Yes, just $1. That's for the certificate. If you come across a situation where a certain individual or institute is charging you fees, you must understand that that's for perhaps the expenses that they expect are needed to conduct the teaching program. But again, I distinguish the teaching. If there are certain institutes or examination centers, if they are engaging teachers to teach the program and help you with your study, they may be charging a certain fees. But the award of the title, the examination itself, is only $1 for the whole certificate. So if you have concerns about the fees being too high, please speak to the specific institute or examination center and talk to them about the fees. A few of them also offer some financial aid, some relief to the devotees who sincerely want to pursue this and become Bhakti-shastris. Our view at the ministry has always been if we are approached by an institute or examination center, we always request them, please keep it as reasonable as possible. And maybe perhaps you've not heard it very often, the distinction between the certificate fees and what the institute is charging for their teaching service. But I hope that this point, the second broad point about fees, clarifies the matter. It would be very nice if everybody who's running these institutes keeps the fees very reasonable so that more and more devotees can participate. You could also consider, if you're setting up another examination center or an institute, then you must also consider another paradigm, which is you could make it free and ask the students to offer a dakshina in the spirit of a proper education system. And they can offer, based upon their means, what they can afford to receive this certification. So after clarifying the first principle that it's not an exclusive program, and the second principle about high fees, I would like to now move on to the third principle. The third requirement or principle that we are approached about as a concern is recommendation. In order to enroll into these programs, every devotee requires a recommendation. Most cases, devotees receive it. In some cases, they face a hurdle. The reasons behind that would be many, and I need not get into that. But I would like to talk about the principle. The principle of recommendation is that a person who wants to become a Bhakti-shastri and have the title Bhakti-shastri is not expected to know only the books, but must conduct himself or herself as a nice devotee, which means that they should also work cooperatively with the local temple, the temple which is providing them the sangha, providing them the education. They must have good relationship. They must have a good sadhana. They should be attending morning programs, because Srila Prabhupada very clearly said that this is a wholesome package, the process of bhakti and process of becoming Bhakti-shastri. It's not just that we academically read and become Bhakti-shastri. A preacher means proper conduct. We must be attending Mangalarti, we must have proper sadhana, we should be reading every day, chanting our rounds. And therefore, a recommendation is necessary. If in the future there are certain devotees who are not following the principles, the four regulative principles, or not chanting, etc., then it's upon them and the leaders to also disclose that possibly if they're not following, then their Bhakti-shastri title, entitlement, etc. needs to be reconsidered. But that's another thought. This message is to communicate what is the principle. It is not meant to be an obstacle. Now, if you do feel obstacles, whereby you find that you are not able to get a recommendation and it is for other reasons, you are doing your sadhana properly, you are serving in the temple, but there are other roadblocks, then please discuss it locally. If it's not resolved locally, I encourage you to talk to the higher levels of management within your local center to request them to help you resolve it, to get that recommendation. If you're still not able to meet success and you really feel that you're suffering or you're not able to move forward and it's unjustified, then even after following the whole protocol, then you may approach the Board of Examinations and present and say that this is what you're facing. And Board of Examinations and the ministry will try to assist you. But let's be clear. We are not trying and we would not want to create a parallel structure where these recommendations are dropped. But we would only try to find out and facilitate it so that you can receive the recommendation and pursue your Bhakti-shastri. And the requirements, why this recommendation is needed, the principles behind it, I've already shared. So to summarize, I've covered so far the first point regarding it not being an exclusive program. The second point was regarding the fees. And the third point was regarding getting the recommendations, which sometimes become difficult.